Hello there, it's Sandip, and in this very short video, I'm going to show you how the most popular moves in the Lichess database in a specific line against the Jobava London system lead to white blundering in just 9 moves. And so what is the Jobava London system? It is characterized by white having a knight on c3, a bishop on f4, and usually white will make an early knight jump to b5 and attack the c7 pawn. And so whilst this looks amateurish, it is played at the top level. There are entire chessable courses devoted to this stuff. I point you in the direction of grandmasters like Hans Niemann and Simon Williams who have material on this stuff if you are interested. And so how do we get here? We have d4, d5, knight c3, knight f6, bishop f4. One of the ways to deal with this is just to play e6 and develop normally. You could play c6 and a6 to prevent this jump, but remember, you are then wasting time. So now after knight b5, the top engine move, there are various ways to defend against this. One of the approaches is to play this move knight a6, and this is one of the ideas around the Jobava London system, is to get these type of concessions from black. So now the knight is at the edge of the board, and after you play moves like e3, c6, kicking the knight away, in many lines white is going to give up its light square bishop on a6, in which case it's damaged black's pawn structure and black has isolated pawns on the A file. So this is some of the ideas around the Jobava London system. Instead of doing this, you can actually defend by playing this move bishop d6, which is completely fine by the engine. The downside is that after the top move, the most popular response, we have knight takes d6. Obviously black has given up its bishop pair, so we have c takes d6. The plus side is that black will have a semi-open file to work with. A rook will probably land on c8 one day, and no doubt white in this position is probably going to castle short now. Also, black is getting good control over the e5 square, which is kind of ironic because one of the ideas of the London system and putting a bishop on f4 early is to get control over the square. But in this line, it just looks like black has good control over it. So now if we follow the most popular moves in the database, they will lead to a blunder after just 9 moves. I hasten to add that I've actually excluded 2500s in the platform, so you can see here I've switched off 2500s because if you include 2500s, then the most popular sequence doesn't lead to blundering, and you'd expect that. You'd expect stronger players not to make trivial opening mistakes. So we keep them out of it, and now we can see e3, okay, normal move, castles, normal move, knight f3, normal move, knight c6, normal move, and then comes this very dubious move, bishop d3. Okay, it's not immediately losing, but it's a little bit dubious. The bishop probably belongs on e2, and you'll see why in a second. And it just goes to show when you learn these system-based openings, you should not just be putting your pieces on the same squares regardless of what your opponent is doing. So whilst it might make sense for the London system player to normally have their bishop on d3, in this case it's a bad idea. And so now we have rook e8, and there is a very clear threat on the board now, and that threat is e5, and that threatens to win material. And you can see here in the database the most popular response is castle. About 1 in 3 players castled here, and now white is lost because of e5. Where is this bishop going to go? If you play d takes e5, we have d takes e5. This pawn is defended twice, so the bishop has to move. Let's say bishop g5, and of course e4 wins the game. The material is forked. And so if you go into this position before castling, you can see the second most popular move is bishop g5. Okay, that means they're getting out of the way of this problem. If they play c3, it's just the same as before. We have e5, the bishop moves, and we're going to fork the material. So it doesn't matter whether they play castles or c3 or queen d2, this threat results in white losing the game. And when you add up all the percentages, it means that basically about 1 in 2 players make this mistake, and they're not realizing that their material is going to get forked. Now what's interesting is that even if white doesn't fall for this, this bishop on d3 makes life difficult for white. So in this position, let's say white has realized they play bishop g5. We can go ahead and play e5 anyway. And now after d takes e5, the fork threat still exists. Amazingly, in this position, people played this move bishop b5. And of course, that is a blunder itself. That loses to queen a5 check. There is no knight to come to the rescue on c3, and the bishop is going to be lost. So in this position, the best thing for white to do is play bishop e2, and then after moves like bishop e6, castles, h6, the bishop retreats, g4, you can kind of see how black is gaining a lot of space in this game, and you're going to have a good game if you reach these type of positions. And it just goes to show that playing this move, bishop d6, gives you a very solid position with control over the e5 square and the possibility of playing e5 one day. And the most popular moves in the Lichess database actually lead to white blundering after just 9 moves. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that video, and if you have any comments on it, do leave them below. Thank you very much for your time.